And bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. All right, let's get it going. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go! Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. It is 10 p.m. Thursday evening, and we are here live on Studio A. Yeah, you've waited all week for the most cutting-edge topics and guests, and now it is time to deliver. That's right, it's the Stephen D Kelley Show with your host, Stephen D Kelley.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Stephen D Kelley Show. I'm your host, Stephen D Kelley. Nice, still warm and light out here in California, Southern California. I have the air conditioner going behind me. Sean says that it doesn't sound bad, so I'm going to let it go and not sweat during the show. Tonight, the show tries to stay topical, very much so, and that's one of the benefits of not having a strategic plan that stretches too far out and being able to go with what happens as spontaneously as possible. And tonight we're going to be talking about Iraq and specifically the situation with respect to ISIS, or ISIL, if you will, taking up large portions of territory and threatening Baghdad and committing atrocities, allegedly, and all these issues. And we're going to discuss that, who they are, where they came from, how the United States is involved in their creation, how there are other countries such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, even Turkey, as well as the United States and the Great Britain, not Great Britain so much, but the EU. These are countries that have all been involved. This is a very important subject, and I think that when we talk about subjects like this particular geographic subject, it very much is affected or connected to other areas of the world that have had incidents such as Benghazi, such as the Ukraine, such as Afghanistan, of course, and the list goes on. And so there's definitely a pattern here. And each time we have a show like this, we're hoping to expose this pattern. We're hoping to help people be able to connect the dots. But, a show like this is also very difficult to find somebody that is a expert per se. There's a lot of people that have opinions. Politicians, sometimes we like to have people that are involved living in the areas of the conflict. I don't have any Iraqis that can call up and tell me what's going on. It's a horrible situation from a war zone standpoint, and I would expect that we wouldn't be able to get any kind of internet contact. Very much like the situation in the Ukraine, all of our contacts in the Ukraine seem to have extremely poor internet connections, which is unsurprising, being in a war zone and being that they're trying to suppress their voices, which they're doing very well by keeping them off our show. But I decided that this incident, what's going on in Iraq, is we should be very upset. And what group better to represent that anger, anxiety, and feeling of betrayal than the veterans, especially the veterans that served in Iraq, and the people that bought into the whole post 9/11 fight on terrorism and Al Qaeda and Taliban and all that nonsense. And we have friends at Veterans Today. We've had Stu Webb on several times, and he told me tonight, a couple days ago when I finally got this show together, because it took him a while to get back to me, that for the subject matter, that Jim Dean was the man that we needed to get on the show. I did a little research, and I was surprised real quick that he did have some stories, and he was definitely the guy, the go-to guy. And of course, Veterans Today is a wealth of insight and up-to-date knowledge and information that you will not get on mainstream media. So naturally, Revolution Radio has a nice, cozy relationship with Veterans Today, and also Stu Webb, I believe, has a station or a program which also features Chip Tatum, or it could be Chip Tatum has a show featuring Stu Webb. Either way, they kind of work hand in hand, I think, on this endeavor. But I'm very proud of their having done this, getting onto the network, because I think it's a very good thing. Anyway, Jim agreed to be with me tonight for at least an hour, so I shouldn't waste this time. He's got a lot to say, and I've got a lot of questions for him. The second hour after the break, hopefully we're going to have Gabby from Syria join us, and he is going to give us an update on his perspective of what's going on with ISIS and the changes, the repercussions that will come from their becoming so strong in the country right next door. So without, but before I do this, Jim, pardon me, this is always the hard part, is managing all these things that need to be said. Again, this is listener-supported radio. We do depend on your donations. I'm not looking at the where we are with donations, but it has been slow, so we do need you guys to give us a little boost of confidence, at the very least, $1, $2, $5, anything. $5. If everybody was listening to this, gave a penny, we'd fill our budget pretty easily. Amazing. All right, and also I want people to join my my Facebook page, but also the station's Facebook page, Facebook.com//Freedom Slips. All right, and if you want to visit Veterans Today, which I did, and I was amazed that Jim's story on the ISIS takeover of the Turkish embassy in Iraq came up, and we're definitely going to be talking about that. But that is veteranstoday.com. One word, no space, veteranstoday.com. So there we go. Without further ado, Jim, again, is a managing editor of over there at Veterans Today, and I'm kind of get the impression that Jim has got a little more higher up on the totem pole than Stu. Is that true, Jim?
Well, Stu is basically one of our writers, and Stu he's a unique one. We're kind of a collection of very eclectic people from the military, intelligence world, and various others. Common denominators were people that were discipline problems, attitude problems, had difficulties working in command structures, but had talents that were so unusual and so unreplaceable that they were put up with. But then eventually found that they could do their work that they were doing for the government better as independents, because you aren't subjected to all the petty humiliations in a command structure. And when people want you to do something, they ask politely, and they know that you can say no if you don't want to. And so a lot of us now are independent. And then a lot of us are also last men standing. Core group is Vietnam-era veterans. Gordon is a highly experienced Marine veteran. He did one official tour, one unofficial tour, 300 combat patrols, 200 night ambushes, 5 amphibious landings, and more bayonet charges than he can remember.
Lovely bayonet charges. When was this now?
This is 1969, 1970. And bayonet charges were usually when you were out of ammunition, and that was your last option, is to make them think that you had gotten reinforcements and were attacking. And if you did it right, it's all psychology. They split and run, and then you split and run.
When weak, feign strength. When strong, feign weakness. Right? Something like that. Yeah. It's all
logic. We work on a triple generation setup. Our oldest folks are the end of World War II, Korean era people, right at the beginning of the Cold War. They go up into like the 75 range. The generation back from them, you have the Vietnam era. And then we go another 20, 25 years back into the 40s. Some of the younger guys, Gulf War I. And how we work is for somebody who's done a lot, we really try to have, takes 5 years of working with somebody to be able to transfer what you know with them. Uh-huh. So we have to have a close relationship and people in it for the long haul, because the whole idea is to pass on a lot of the life lessons of somebody that's really has a ton of experience on to someone else that's going to be around 20 years afterwards.
Got it. All right, Jim, we got a little crazy sound issues coming from your end. It's almost you may have a secondary microphone besides the one on you're using your headset now, right?
No, I've got that unplugged to be safe there, and you're coming through fine. But if you want, we can take a break. I can switch back to the microphone and the other set. But can you hear me? Is it just in and out?
Well, yeah, we can hear you. There's just a little fluctuation in the sound quality. What do you think, Sean? How's the sound?
Well, that might just be the internet connection. So.
All right. Well, let's do our best. Anyway, hello chat, hello audience. If you guys want to give us some feedback and think the sound's crummy and we need to try to do something, let me know in chat. We'll be watching. Anyway, Jim. Okay, Jim. Let's tell you what. Let's focus right away. Okay, so you've been to you've been in Syria. You've been over there in that part of the world. You know what's going on. We'll assume that if Veterans Day says that you're the man, I'm assuming that you're the man, and we're happy to have you here. But so let's just start right away. We'll focus on iSis.
Good.
And
let me start out with I'll give you some initial framing. What I typically do with these interviews is number one, the benefit of having talk video, particularly when you have time, rather than a 3.5 minute clip, is you're under a lot of pressure to oversimplify things, to give the listeners a bullet or two that they will remember. And unfortunately, that doesn't do much for these really complicated, not only geopolitical and military situations, but dealing with cultures that go back several thousand years. So there are no simple explanations. There's layers of complexity to this. And the first one I like to lay out is most of the commentators and the people I hear doing interviews or short clips, they usually have an ideological bent, and they're either anti-American, anti-imperialism. So no matter what the issue is or wherever it's going on, they say it's all America's fault. This is all they do. They've got their one little punching bag they always work there. Sometimes people that are doing the interviews call them because they know that's what they're going to get. And I think that's cheating the audience because they learn absolutely nothing from that. So what I've done, and we have a lot of people doing that on the Iraq thing, they're saying it's all America's fault. It never would have happened. And they're that, but there's also there's a lot of people that in the region that are also contributing to it. And I'd like to start out with this terrorist situation is using terrorists as proxy troops for regime change. It's a very scary thing that grew out of America knowing that after $2 trillion and two totally wasted bogus wars, that they weren't going to get the public, and the military wasn't very excited about it, being deployed on these bogus wars to make contractors rich. So they were going to have to find some other way to do it on the cheap, with no American boots on the ground, no body bags back, and basically come up with these color revolutions, and then also using masses of jihadis and extremists that could be used for destabilization efforts. And you got several countries in the game. You got Israel, of course, You've got the U.S. You've got Saudi Arabia as a big player, Qatar, some of the small Gulf states. Jordan is kind of a big player, and then Turkey is also involved in it. And the other mistake I find is people say, "Oh, the Americans, is running the whole thing. They're telling them all what to do," and that's baloney. Nobody's telling them all what to do. Sure, they're all ganging up on Syria, and they're piling on there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all doing it for the same reasons, because they're not. They all have particular things that they want out of it, and they're all angling to have certain of these insurgents and these terrorist groups that are loyal to them, so that theoretically when Assad went down, they would somehow be ascendant and eventually try to end up the big eye. And that's my then to where iSis came from, which was the Saudis. They're your hardcore Wahhabi guys. And Saudi Arabia basically budgeted them with about $2 billion to go in there with just unlimited funding. Start a second wing in the north so that the U.S. with their insurgents on Jordan, they could make pressure from that side, from the south. Turks have really gotten a free ride. The CIA has been running training bases for insurgents there for a long time. They've been supplying them, running them over the border. The press is, it's almost like the press has been off. They've gotten almost no bad publicity for this. And then they brought the Saudis to really deploy the heavyweight terror guy on the north side, the Aleppo area, because that's where a lot of the enemies are. I'll give you a couple things that I learned in Syria that I didn't know. That because Aleppo was a major industrial area, most of the equipment in all factories has been stripped out. And we were thinking, gosh, that's got to be a lot of equipment. What in the world would somebody be wanting to be doing in the wartime? Be carting the logistics of moving a lot of equipment out. And there's two reasons. One of it was that they wanted to eliminate any potential jobs for people coming back because there just wouldn't be any work. So where did all this stuff go? I mean, certainly the Saudis are not interested in the used equipment business. And they told us it all went to Turkey.
I believe it.
And I said, son of a gun. I said, that's a lot of stuff. I said, another thing that Turkey got a free deal on.
That's looting. That's just carpetbagging and looting, right?
And you're talking about a lot of stuff. And then the other thing, which I kind of had a feeling for, is most of the oil production is in the north part of the country. And when we went to the parliament and we had about an hour meeting with the Speaker of the Parliament, he spent about half the time giving us a briefing on what all had gone on. And he gave us the figures on the oil. He said, we had $12 billion of oil revenues. And he said, one of the things that's tough for us is that's basically all gone. So the northern guys over that area, and then what we found out today was one of the things the Saudis sent them in the north area to get a $2 billion said, we want that $2 billion back now. So they have been funding the whole operation. It's a cost-free operation now because they've been selling the oil to Turkey. Turkey's been buying all of the oil that they're taking out of there. So we have this unbelievable situation. Not only is this war on the cheap, but they're using the Syrian people's oil reserves now to basically pay for a lot of their operations. So even Saudi Arabia, as rich as they can be, it's not even costing them any money. So it's an unbelievable situation, and you got Turkey involved in it, and that's why I wrote the ironic situation just to give an example of how nobody can control these guys. Here is Turkey's been involved with helping them and funding them when they went to Mosul. They just went in there and snatched all their people. They've got a bunch of truck drivers. So there's a couple things there. Hostages now. They used hostages to be able to do withdrawals in homes. They were able to get out and negotiate by letting hostages go, exchange prisoners. And they're probably going to do the same thing in Iraq. If they get boxed in or something like that, their ticket to get out.
All right. You're talking about the Turkish hostages now, is that right?
Yep, and from Mosul.
Okay.
And the other thing is
well,
you can just
Jim, I want to say something about the Turkish hostages first. Now, knowing that the Turks were involved in the training and the creation of these groups, and the CIA, of course, everybody it seems like was involved in the training. They all they want to take apart the country. They want to balkanize the country. And certainly the Turks are looking at a large section of property, and they're certainly looking at their issues with the Kurds, naturally, because obviously the Kurds are right there. So I suspect that this, it's almost like that old thing. You create your enemies, and you set up these false flags. It's almost like this group that you trained went over there, created this atrocity that you must go in there and correct. And the United States obviously is doing the exact same thing. We trained the troops. It's really sad, Jim. What makes me sick is that we went into Iraq, we decimated the army, and then we insisted on training this whole cadre of new troops, and then we go out and train the terrorists that eventually would turn around and kill the troops that we trained over there in Iraq. So
sure, it's just organized mayhem. Yep.
Yeah, they must know, and for all those people that went there and spent time in Iraq training these men and trying to give them training for law enforcement purposes and what have you, knowing what that their decapitated bodies are lining the roads to Mosul and things like this are kind of I'm kind of surprised that more people, especially in the veteran community, aren't making a lot of noise right now.
Yes, but there's a reason for that historically and psychologically. Is once these things drag on and on and on, Steve, and I've seen this for a long, long time, and you're going to see more of it, is what the powers that be have observed with their little test marketing that they're doing, is people develop a tin ear to it. They get desensitized to the point where they become to these things and can pay any attention to them. And that's wonderful for the bad guys because they now know that they can continue. They don't really have to hide what they're doing because nobody's going to do anything about it, much from an idol or that they're just not paying any attention. They've just heard of it. They're tired of hearing from it. And that puts us all exposed for, escalation. They said, well, now we've gotten them to accept this baseline. Now what else can we kind of push them up and see if they'll accept all? So it's putting us all at risk. And I also put out when I did an Al Alam show, which is Iran's Arabic TV station. One of my pet, I've been on this because it's a third rail that nobody's supposed to touch, is that almost all of the terrorism that's being conducted in the world now is all state-sponsored terrorism. The number of independent groups is based infinitesimal. You can't exist as a terrorist group without having some type of state sponsor and protection. And the U.S. has got Israel, of course, is involved. We know the Saudis, all of these groups that are involved with Syria, and even the French and the British have some irons in the fire. You cannot prosecute them. Everybody knows the U.S. is involved in this, and no one's talking about prosecutions or anything like that because you can't prosecute them. So we started this whole war on terror. A bunch of guys supposedly in some caves in Afghanistan, and we spent pissed away $2 trillion, destroyed all these people, and as it turns out, at the end of the day, we are now running the biggest terrorist operations the West is, that just dwarfs anything that they ever wanted to do.
Don't forget the opium production, at all-time high.
The drugs.
Well, Jim, again, that's that balkanization thing, and I don't know if we want to go there, but who benefits from all this? Obviously, all of these countries, these Arabic countries, especially the ones that have strong industry and these large multi-million populations, they need to be broken up and balkanized and driven into these little polarizing things that kill each other. And we know and it's Israel. I mean, clearly, the United States foreign policy in regards to these countries like this clearly has to be driven by Israel and their desire to see these countries rendered impotent and radioactive and everything else. Don't you think?
Well, I think Israel gets a lot of attention, but Israel's actually kind of a distraction. And I'll try to just cover this in a couple minutes. I used to think you described, but until I was eventually briefed by somebody who knew a lot more about it than me. And he kind of broke the ice with me. He said, "You're approaching it the wrong way." He said, "Like most folks, you're seeing at Israel as a country," and he says, "You really shouldn't." Because he says, if you look at Israel as a country, you'll start attributing things to them that they really don't have the power to do. He said, you need to look at Israel as a base, and of course,
an aircraft carrier.
Kind of threw kind of a blank with me, and then. Of course, he helped me out. He said, what if I told you that 90% of the GNP, or the gross national product of Israel, took outside of Israel in offshore countries where no taxes were paid, not a dime of it ever came back to Israel whatsoever. And what the country gets the budget run on there is just actually 10%. Actually, it's a global empire with all kinds of money, and most of the people don't even live in Israel. Mm-hmm. And of course, that was the last term. Yeah. So he said the other thing is whenever anybody wants to for president, and I go to Israel, he said, where do they do fundraising? And he says, you don't know, but he said they go overseas for their fundraising.
APAC and what have you, huh?
Not only APAC, but Europe. The huge bank, the big banking family, whatever. All the money, he said they go to get their instructions and kiss the ring and say, will you supply me for Israel? So they've got the intelligence they use, they've got the diplomatic immunity, they never get prosecuted for taxes. They can use oil pipeline blowouts, threat to bomb Iran, threat to not bomb Iran. Oil prices go up, oil prices go down. They can play the futures markets, pick up tens, maybe a few $100 million on this play, that play, simply by having a country like Israel basically is a yo-yo. So that's one thing I'll pass to the audience.
All right. Hey, listen, Jim, do me a favor. You're leading me to great questions. Let's try to see if we can fix this sound real quick. We're gonna hang up on you. There you go for 2 seconds and try to bring you back, and hopefully this will work. Okay.
Good. We'll try a new connection.
All right. There you go. Let's see what happens. See if that sounds so far so good, huh? Wow. Okay.
Good.
Technology triumph. Anyway, okay. There's a couple issues. All right. One is that, and this is a tangent, but I want to bring it up because this is interesting, and it's certainly a paradox. All right, Kolomoisky in Ukraine, okay, oligarch, Israeli citizen. Correct me if I'm wrong. Practicing some very much apartheid type tactics, Nazi tactics, very reminiscent of what's tactics being used on Palestinians. On residents of the eastern part of the country where they're doing their punitive actions, very similar, the way they're rounding up the young men and what have you is very similar to what they do against the Palestinians. And at the same time, you have commandos from Israel going into those sections through Russia, volunteer forces in the hundreds trained in commando tactics to help support the Jewish people living in the East and help support, protect the synagogues, et cetera, et cetera. So, how would you, it's, if a person that was viewing the situation had to go by the who Israel was siding with. I mean, what do you make of all that?
Well, we generally are always seeing Israel involved in mayhem. A lot of it comes from their ex-retired and military people. They had very close ties with the Russian oligarchs when they were Haiti. A lot of Israeli folks were handling their security, protecting them from intercepts, them how to do intercepts on the KGB, so they would know if they were onto them and whatever. So they're being skillful for bringing state-of-the-art intelligence capacities to business operations, which, if you have that, gives you tremendous advantage over your competitors. Because you can steal all their secrets, you can tap their phone lines, and you've got
like
every
NSA,
nasty tool you can think of.
Yeah, just like the NSA does.
So they have a reputation for this. When they offer their services to somebody, it's kind of an offer. Also, it's a threat, because if you say no, you know they're going to go and offer their services to whoever your competitor. They're always trying to get their hooks in. A lot of it's not so much logical, but they like to make money and get involved in these places. And it's a sad thing, because it does reinforce a negative stereotype about always trouble. And then again, not a lot of the Jewish people, wherever they are, they're not involved in any of this stuff at all, and they don't even know a lot about it.
All right. Well, I guess this is the thing. All right. Let's just put it in more black and white terms for the Kolomoisky and the other guys. I can't. The names are all hard for me to go off pronounce. But we know who he is, and we know that he's basically representing a side that is diehard fascist and has a very strong Nazi flavor, to say the least. Okay, and because of that, this is why these commandos are coming from Israel, because they are there to fight Nazism. They are there to fight fascism. They know what fascism is. They recognize it, and they're not going to allow it to start up again and reoccur. And if you look at the broad picture here, and a lot of people don't see this, especially in the Western world, is that what we are really seeing is, at least to some degree, is a rise in fascism. This has nothing to do with Putin and Russia and the demise of the petrodollar. And even if it is that, which surely the Rothschilds are certainly trying to get their revenge on Putin and destroy him for rejecting their money, but at the same time, we're seeing these neo-fascists rising up in different countries. It's not just here in the Ukraine. It's also every other European country has got their little contingents of people that are volunteering and getting involved. And they're also combining with the Chechens and these other troublemakers from anybody that hates Russia. They're all, and of course, don't forget the ISIS and the rest of these guys. They're all fighting for the same corporation, respectively. But I guess the point is well, that seems to be the big thing, isn't it? I mean, if you really get down to it, and if we look at the World War II analogy, is it possible to say that it was the same thing happened in World War II, that the rise of Hitler was really fueled by a Rothschild conspiracy to accomplish another gate? In that case, is a creation of Israel. And now it's a Rothschild desire to destroy Russia once more, just like they did to the Tsar, like they talked about in the protocols. Hmm?
Well, they have a European king of making money coming and going in wars. In fact, there used to be a time when they didn't have big wars, because eventually whoever would run money. And when they could no longer pay the troops, they basically had to call the war over and have a truce, because they didn't have any more dough. So that kind of held the real damage of war down. They didn't do a lot of property destruction, because one of the reasons that people got in war is people that had land that they could tax, and they had businesses. But then the bankers came along and said, well, you don't have to worry about money because we'll just loan you the money you need. And you can just pay us from the loot that you get, by wiping out the other guy. So now you could have wars like our American Civil War, where the North funded a lot of their money from Europe, 18% interest, which nobody knows very much about on those bonds. And then they instituted the income tax as one of the ways that they said, we'll just have 25 years worth of taxation, basically, to pay all these bonds back. So the bankers saw that you could have a war about every 25 years, and that for 25 years, the next generation would have to pay you back. And this is kind of what happened, with Europe. And then you have the rebuilding aspect. You make the money on the war, and then when it's time to rebuild, everybody's going to have money in capital. So it's a real turnover generator. So that's why when you have one of the analogies that we have now, where everybody's banking system, their economies are houses of cards, similar to like Roosevelt was caught in a pickle with his New Deal, which had been a total failure. People think it's wonderful he created all of these jobs, but all of them were make-work jobs. At the end of the day, he hadn't really created a single job based on demand because there just wasn't any demand. And the war, one of the reasons that he was waiting and trying to get into the war, he knew the war was the only way that it was going to turn the economy around, and he was going to save his legacy. And you have a similar situation that happened. The Rothschild, they had the boot on the Germans, and it was so stupid because after World War I, they piled the reparations so much on Germany, they had it basically destitute. And what they did is they killed the biggest economic engine in Europe, because I think Britain's biggest customer in terms of exports had been Germany. So after World War I, these guys go back home and they've got no jobs because Germany's destitute and they're not buying anything. So you had this tremendous depression after the war because Germany had been left so destitute. And this went on and on and on until you get a situation where people are desperate for any type of leader. They don't care what his thing is, as long as you can put food on the table and improve our situation. People are desperate. And some of this fascist growth stuff is being fueled by people for positive reasons, not just so much the racist reasons, but they just see that the powers that be are just exploiting them. They feel that they're being enslaved, that all the rank and file politicians are just selling out and making deals, and that they have nothing left to do except basically to try to turn the whole thing upside down. So you have different layers. The young people, they have their little things, and then you also have a lot of criminal gangs getting involved in this because it gives them kind of a cover, a political cover. Ukraine had a lot of these. You have huge, really nasty criminal outfits in Ukraine. And we found that the nationalist groups were just filled up with those guys. So it's just really a lot of nasty things. And you've got a lot of rough scabs there between the East and the West. It's just a hell of a mess. And once you get some really nasty people who want to go in there and are really good at stirring things up like that, you can create a lot of mayhem, and the Israelis are very, very good at doing that.
Yeah, all right, well. Okay, well, yeah, obviously it's not just them, of course. It's them and Turkey and Saudi Arabia and all these other entities that have their own all agendas, mixing up their agendas. Lots of different motives in play here.
And like in the Chechens, they're now floating. They're now being exported. Right. All over the place as hired guns. But getting back to Iraq, one of the first articles I wrote is the incredible situation. They were still estimating the ISI manpower at about 5,000. Obviously, they had to have some Sunni helpers. But you had 5,000 Sunni attackers that basically caused 4 Iraqi divisions to break and run. And not only did they break and run, but they abandoned their equipment. And then not only did they abandon their equipment so they wouldn't have anything to fight with, at a fallback position, they didn't do a fighting retreat. All the roadsides were littered with uniforms. So it wasn't a retreat. You were just talking about mass desertions. And this was kept out of the media for days until some of the videos started showing up. And it said, how can this happen? And we did a little digging into it. And we just found out that once we left Iraq, and we were helping with the training and whatever, and we had spent $25 billion there trying to get that army standing up. It basically just turned into your typical tribal type thing. They stopped training. They started stealing the training budgets because, that's the whole thing there is to get in on the budget and redirect it and put it in your pocket. And the way you have to do that is pretend that you've done something when you haven't in training budgets. So you had basically a hollowed out army. They're paycheck soldiers. They're just in for their paychecks, manning checkpoints, checking people's papers and whatever. Only their special forces units have really any fight in them. So somebody really knew that was a really good call, and they could send 5,000 tough guys in there and have 4 divisions of army divisions to break. It was just an incredible thing and a complete incompetency from the Iraqi command point of view. And part of that, I was just talking to Gordon Duff earlier tonight, and part of that problem is the tribal thing you have there and how that works up into anything. For instance, some of the best generals were Sunnis. And of course they knew the area and they knew the people, but Maliki, to make sure that he got reelected, he had some situations where he replaced some of the best Sunnis with Shias, and that helped demoralize the army. And then another issue you got in terms of that from a tribal situation, you can have the top guy that graduated from West Point, a stellar soldier, everything that he's done is just superlative. But if you have a tribal chief from your tribe come, and his son also graduated from West Point, their West Point, and he was at the bottom of the list, and you make a request that you want him to have command of this division, they put the tribal chief's son in the position. It's just a done deal. They can't say no, because the whole political relationships rely on you have to give those types of jobs. You cannot say no to a tribal chief. And, of course, you can't run a modern army this way. So in that way, Iraq is kind of a hopeless case. If some place needed to be balkanized, the Kurds do the Kurd thing, the Sunnis do the Sunnis, and the Shia do the Shia. I mean, Iraq is the place to do it. But now, what you got with Saudi Arabia and ISI there, Saudi Arabia is looking at, in effect, expanding their territory up into Iraq and, in effect, carving that off in terms of their control. It gives them bases to continue fighting in Syria. So it's just a mess, and they've got more money than God. They don't care what anybody thinks about them because they know nobody's going to do anything about it. It's one god-awful mess. And anybody that contributed to this destabilization and using terrorists, they have really let Frankenstein loose upon the planet, because even if you got one of these wars started, you have got a whole bunch of cutthroat killers running around that think that they're going to go back and be shopkeepers and farmers and taxi cab drivers. You can forget that. once they've been blackmailing and kidnapping people and getting $10,000 from their relatives and whatever, they're going to be looking for the next war, the next destabilization program, and there's always going to be somebody willing to pay them. So we've basically created a huge monster here, and we know, and you know how it works with politicians. They never accept any responsibility for their disasters.
Yep, that's very true. Like the guy said when they just released him, they went back and turned out to be this ISIS chief. He said, "I'll see you in New York," right? When they were putting him on the plane. So, yeah, we know what they are thinking. Definitely. All right. Let me see. Gosh, Jim, we've only got about 15 minutes. You have anything positive? What do you think people can do? I mean, is it obviously the policy, the CIA, the whole creation of these enemies and the destabilization, just policy after policy, negative policy decision after negative policy decision. What can we really do? I mean, besides being reactionary to these events, got any suggestions?
Well, we've got to somehow not submit to what really would be a rational response. That's defeatist, because you look and say, what can you possibly do? The congressmen are almost totally worthless. I mean, anybody that's tried to complain to Congress or whatever, everybody realized that occasionally that works. We're able to stop the Syrian bombing was the high point of public opposition that I've seen, probably in a decade. And I got a little excited I said, I wonder if they get excited about having this power, they're going to keep using it. And they kind of went back to sleep. But we're going to have to purge I don't think when it comes to politics today, re-electing a few people here and there or whatever is going to have any impact at all. And here's why. I'm really a fatalist about it. We're living in a situation now where politicians have really combined forces with international criminal organizations, big ones. A lot of the drug money that's coming out of Afghanistan is flowing into political campaigns, not only all over Europe and Eastern Europe, but it's even coming back here to the U.S. And the politicians now, and because of our Supreme Court passed a law where foreign corporations now can donate unlimited funds to political campaigns, allowed all of this international criminal money to just flow into the U.S. politics like a river. Sure. So, and there's so much of it now. We've been seeing even a bigger escalation in running political campaigns now. It is considered unfeasible to try to run a political campaign on the money from honest donors. That you have to be tied in with these big criminal network guys and give them what they want, or you just never, or the guy you're going to run against, he's going to hook up with them and says, I'll do it. So they've become fatalistic about it. So and it gets to where we don't have any control over our political system. And I've been editorializing now basically by saying I don't even tell people that we have a democracy anymore. I wouldn't tell any kids. I wouldn't dare tell a child that. I said we have what we have here. I'm calling it's a pretend democracy. It's like a children's coloring book. People here don't really have any power. They let you have power. You want to fight about gay rights, and you want to fight, you can fight about and vote and whatever about all kinds of stuff that we don't care about. But when it comes to stuff that we do care about, the money, commodity prices, controlling of banking systems and not having laws that affect our rigging of markets and stuff like that. If you take money from us, not only will you not interfere in those operations, that you will assist us in every way possible because we're going to cut you in on the money. And that's how horrible it is. And I can't think of anything more hopeless than try to take 5 or 6 loyal, truthful congressmen and throw them in that hellhole up there called Congress and think that those guys are going to be able to have any effect on that system. It's just horrible. So we're looking at, we need some way to get rid of all the old people, all the big figures. Nothing can be changed or really fixed with all of these people still in place because there's too many powers that have their hooks.
Hey, Jim,
really
do you remember when the so-called Republican Revolution happened and Newt Gingrich was their so-called leader?
Oh,
and,
yes, I'm just south of Marietta.
And there was all that power and all those guys that wanted change. I remember there's so much new blood. And then what do they get? They get this party leader like Gingrich, who was a damn Democrat in Republicans' clothes, apparently,
yep.
and led them. Yeah, he blunted that entire campaign, that so-called Republican Revolution.
Yep. And I came in after that, when they're talking about reform and wanting to widen the base and, grassroots. And I spent 2 years as a delegate, and it was just completely phony. All they wanted is people that would just do the party line and be a worker bee. And as soon as you started talking about any serious type of reform or whatever, they treated you like a leper. We went in, we helped throw out a governor here and whatever, and then we quit after about 2 years. Everything that we tried to do, not only did they not help us, they tried to block us in every way possible. So we went independent ourselves, and for instance, eventually I got into independent media, and we did, we could hell of a lot more doing what you and I do than being on some Republican campaign phone call committee and pitching some silly little propaganda or little ideological scabs that you're out there trying to cut. All issues that aren't going to have anything to do with whether your grandchildren are going to be broke or answer aid to work in China or in Taiwan someday is the only chance of them being able to get a job is to go overseas and be a domestic. People think I'm joking when I say that, and I'm just saying
be a novelty in China. Well, okay, listen, I guess that I didn't really, again, we're getting to the end of the show, and as far as a positive outlook or an answer, I mean, okay, short of rising up in revolution and stringing them all up with ropes, I mean, do you have any positive advice for us?
Well, we only have one model, and we have stopping the Syrian bombing campaign.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that's
keep doing that.
Out of Congress. That out of the blue, they had never seen anything like it. And folks, those mass phone calls, they really, really do work. And it's free. It's like being able to vote as many times as you want. And that's one we can torture is just bury them under in phone calls. But people have to be networked so that you can organize these campaigns. And what I see lacking keyboards that are lone warriors and have contacts, but they've never met them. But when it comes to locally, we found that they have not been good at generating these. Let's bury so and so's phones this week, and next week we're going to go after. Go to Lindsey Graham. We're going to do him next week. We don't see any efforts even tormenting these people who've been tormenting us so ruthlessly. Okay.
All right. So your advice then is that we've got to network better. We've got to probably use our social medias better, our Facebooks, etc. And we've got to harass them. And I'll tell you something, Jim. Somebody would give me. I'm just a soapbox here for a second. Ruthlessly, exactly. People give me crap about attacking Obama, and I say, well, it doesn't matter if he's right or wrong in his decision. I need to attack him every day because he's the enemy. Whether or not he's a good one day and bad the next day is irrelevant. He's still the enemy, and he needs to be attacked. So it's kind of the same way. They all need to be attacked. It needs to be relentless, right? Ruthless.
And we pick it on the issue. I mean, even though we attack Obama in Syria, continuing that in Ukraine, know that we're just not anti-Obama or we can say we hate black people, and we just say it's just so sad to see him doing that when he's just undone wonderful job at trying to end the fake Iranian nuclear bomb hoax, which he's done a wonderful job. And so we find you have to have credibility, but it's not beating them all the time. You know, what they're doing that they can give them credit for, you give it. You know
what? The show's gonna be over here, so I gotta stop you, Jim. I want to thank you for being here, and I may have to get you back here. All right, we're gonna have to get your sound fixed. Again, Veterans Today, everybody. VeteransToday.com, www.veteranstoday.com. Mr. Jim Dean, managing editor. Go read his stories. Subscribe. Jim, I hope you'll join our Facebook page over here on Revolution Radio also. There's something I have to say real quick. You'll pardon me, but Hawk is having his 50th birthday party, and if you want to go to that event, the best way to get to it is freedomslips.com/partytime.htm, and go to that page. There's all the information. That would be www.freedomslips.com/partytime.htm. All right? And I'm sure if you go to our homepage, you'll be able to find information on that. And hopefully somebody should put information about that on our Facebook page. Anyway, again, Jim, thank you very much. Give the guys there, Stu and what have you. I got to have Gordon Duff on the show one of these days also. I like it when there's multiple panelists. So if I could get all three of you guys here, Gordon Duff, yourself, and Stu, that'd be kind of fun.
Well, it's we have Gordon now, and it's hard for the rest of us to get much in. He's
he's a talker,
very competitive when it comes to points.
All right,
but good,
all right, well, listen,
fun.
That's it. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody listening. Thank you to the chat room. Adios. God bless.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. The finder of lost children and missing persons. Monique Lassan. Surveilling civil and criminal investigations. I investigate.
No, I am the chosen one.
Do not underestimate the power of good, and do not dismiss the strength of the child.
Yes, every Wednesday evening on Revolution Radio, come join our very own I-Investigatrix, Monique Lassan, with her private I-X-Files.
So you're the finder of lost children?
Private I-X-Files, every Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
I realize it's very hard for you to take in. What is your destiny to find the golden child?
Listen in to Journeys with JP, Tuesdays on Revolution Radio at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with a variety of guests, each giving their unique perspective on their journey through to the now. Journeys offers you, the listener, a chance to share that perspective. Join me, JP, on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, simulcast with Wolf Spirit Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let light unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Studio B.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio! Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I feel kind of silly now because I thought that was the end of the show, but I was distracted because I'm not used to the guest leaving after only an hour. And speaking of guests leaving after only an hour, we had Gabby scheduled to come back, come with us, and he's not picking up the phone. Maybe he's trying to get a hold of us now, but you know, there's such a funny time difference with us that he has a hard time keeping up, but anyway, I got 2 or 3 people trying to talk to me, so I'm not stressed out or anything. Don't worry about it. Sean, of course, is sitting here trying to get a hold of Gabby. Don't stress out, Sean. You do your best, but, if he doesn't come, he doesn't come. But one thing that does concern me, though, and perhaps, we'll talk about this right now, and that is we've still been having a little bit of problems with Skype with people calling in, and there is some tricks, and Sean's good at the tricks, and he manages to take the callers without the darn thing dropping the server. So, I don't know, Sean, what do you think? In a situation like this, naturally, I'd like to open up the phone lines and see if anybody wants to call in and use this time to talk about the subject or something else pertinent.
Right, absolutely, yeah. You can call in at 347-688-2902, or you can Skype in with Freedom Screen, all one word.
Right, you guys, I hope you got that. That's our standard call-in number, is that right, Sean?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay,
well, all right, again, I'll give that out again, 347-688-2902. All right, anyway, hopefully you guys have written that down and you have it stashed away or somewhere on speed dial on your phone. So, and what's fun is we have, I've been doing this on the roundtables lately, and I've been challenging people who have never called in the show before to call in. So I would like to see that happen tonight. If there's anybody out there that's listening to the show that has a comment about what they heard in the previous hour or anything of this nature, please join us right now, and we'd like to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll have to rant and rave. But I got to say, I liked Jim's perspective. I think he had a pretty right-on perspective. I mean, some of these guys, like Stu, clearly his perspective is certainly famous for being the way it is. And Gordon Duff, these guys are all very strong personalities. But like Jim was saying, it's kind of like a fraternity of brothers that all have the same problem, if you will. But firebrands, whatever it is, cranky old man, who knows what you want to call it. But either way, it's a formidable force, and it's nice to have an association with guys like that because, in situations like with this show, to be able to call on one of their editors, especially one of these guys that have done so much research in particular areas that we want to talk about, it's pretty damn handy. And it also, again, shows, I think, a level of mutual respect. Revolution Radio certainly has a lot of credibility, and I know that Stu has a lot of respect for Revolution Radio, especially, he's been on our channel, or our program, he said a couple times that he had a few hosts that he thought were kick butt, so to speak. And so we're very proud of that. And yeah, these subjects that we're doing, working with the hot spots of the world and trying to stop the bloodshed and do everything we can to point out the evil and the wickedness and the connections between all these issues. That's all we can do. And maybe it's an old man's game, perhaps. I'm kind of an old guy, but it seems to me that you take a guy like Tosh here, and I think he's like 76 years old or something like that. And all of those DEA guys I had on here, they were up in the years. And when you get up there in those years, you just stop caring, and you've already done it. You've had your life, and you're more inclined to stand up for what's right without having any fear and spilling your guts and cleaning out your skeletons in your closet and everything else. So that's what we do until they haul us all away.
Stephen, we actually got a caller. I'm going to bring him in now. It's going to ring. Sorry about
All right,
this.
Go for it. Ring, ring, ring. Aw. Well, we did have a caller. It's trying to come through.
I think it's actually an international. I don't have the credit to bring in the international line. Apologize.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate. Oh, well. Yeah, we haven't had a whole lot of luck with international. I guess that's one of the issues with some of these phone dropping issues, too. Maybe they're making life difficult if you don't have any credit. What do you think?
Well, yeah. It's kind of pricey to get the international one compared to the U.S. and Canada and Mexico line one. That one's not too bad.
Yeah, I think they said it was $40 for 6 months or something of this nature.
Really, that's for the U.S., Mexico, and Canada one. It's like $130 for the international.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's multiplied by 12 months. That's like $1,200. That's a little pricey.
So to be a good producer, you got to spend those bucks and be able to take those calls from all over the place and put it on your tab, basically, right?
Right, all that money that we don't make anymore in this country.
Yeah.
All that extra expendable money's all been sucked right out of us.
Yeah, well, not only that. But again, that's kind of a good segue for to remind people about the listener-supported nature of the station. I mean, all right, here you are. I mean, both of us, you're the producer. You're not making any money. If you were to actually spend money, you could have this plan to take these calls and do all this. That all costs money. I mean, think if the station was actually making so much money we could pay our budget, and then we had enough to pay the producers money for Skype expenses, and obviously the the hosts don't make any money, so.
Well, it's a labor of love, I mean, I think when you put the caveat out there that you can get paid to do this, you start bringing in a different kind of individual.
Yeah. They're like actors, right?
They could be, yeah. It draws in the money. It draws people in rather than the actual passion.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's I've got 8:10 here. We're only 12 minutes into the show. Again, Gabby was going to join us. I mean, there's lots of people that we could bring in here, but...
Right, yeah. I just got a good message here from Tones in the chat. He said, international callers, if you have Skype, you don't have to worry about the international credits. You can just call me on Skype, and we could bring you in that way.
All right. We'll figure something out. So, yeah, you guys want to help out. I should mention also that after this show is Major Tom's show, and with Keith A.Z. and Major Tom, of course, and they've asked me to come on to their program. So, there's my phone again. I know that's not having anything to do with this. Hang on just a second, okay? Gosh.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, bear with me. All right, well, that's an interesting guy. This is a guy that says his name is Paul Rubenstein. He's supposed to be a Hollywood producer. He's been going through a spiritual quest, but I just hooked up to him today, and he needs some help. So it's kind of interesting that he would call during the show. But anyway, someone else is going to deal with that. Sorry, guys. Okay, our caller did not connect. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, area code 721, wherever you're calling from, hop on Skype. Give me a call through Skype. We'll bring you right in. There's no credits required. Easy peasy. Do it that way. But Steven, he keeps calling. I'm going to have to reject him. Right. I have a question for you. What's your opinion on the immigrant issue going on in the Texas-Arizona border? They're saying the kids, when interviewed, their opinion is the media and religious leaders said, go on, head up. You pretty much get a free pass and let right in. That's kind of concerning.
What happened, there was an issue with some kids that were detained that died or something in the heat in the back of a wagon or something like this. And because of this, it caused a radical policy change with respect to child illegals. And so what happened was that the I don't know what you want to call it, the forces that are involved in these things decide to take advantage of that, and they flooded the border with these children of the... All right, well, that was unfortunate. Put me on hold. Anyway. Hi, Joe.
Hey. I don't know if Sean just beat me to it, but just to let everybody know, and not to just drop this on your show, SDK, but that's the whole... Everyone out there that's listening, that's the whole purpose of Skype. Skype is a software, a piece of utility that you can use where you don't have to buy credits. When you go to Skype and you download the software and create an account, sure, it wants you to buy credits and add credits to your account so they can make money, of course. But you don't need to buy credits or buy a calling plan or an international calling plan or anything like that. Just download the software, create yourself a little username, and then add Sean's or the station, which is Freedom Screen, all one word, to your Skype contacts and make a call that way from contact to contact. It's free. That's the whole purpose of Skype. It's free, voice over IP. So I just wanted to throw that little PSA out there for you. So, I don't know if you mentioned it right while I was trying to call in, but it's free. You don't need any Skype credits to make this call or get on air. That's all.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, good first hours, too. Nice stuff.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's Max Steele trying to get in. I told him in chat, Max, come on, sign on Skype. I got you. I'll bring you in.
Yeah, he's been talking to me on the side here too. But here, let me just try to finish your question there, Sean. The problem is that, again, the bad guys are taking advantage of the situation. They're using the children as cover for other surreptitious stuff. And now that we have these issues with these homemade armies and the cartels and whatnot, they're basically they're like wolves hiding amongst the sheep, flooding the border. And the other thing that's really kind of ominous about all this is that they're bringing with them a lot of infectious diseases that we would normally screen at the border, that are basically being brought into population centers with no protection. And that's something that we've been doing for hundreds of years. I mean, with immigrants, is basically checking at the border to make sure that they're not bringing any kind of disease that's rare disease that is not, that would cause problems if introduced into the United States. So, those are just one of the many issues. I know there's a lot of immigrants out there, especially people that immigrated here into this country, illegally or whatever. They're very passionate and sensitive about this issue. But it is being abused, and obviously Obama is doing it to dilute the population and to cause polarization and chaos. And this is no different than when these guys come into the cities, and the first thing they do is they release all the criminals from the prisons. They did that in Ukraine. They did that they're doing that in Iraq right now, in Mosul and what have you. And Hitler did the same thing. So this is a very common tactic. And this is, it's just like with Mariel boat theft when all the Cubans came over here and they brought, Castro sent all the criminals and what have you into the country, So that's a very common tactic. Again, from a political standpoint, the Democratic Party, especially, that Clinton was very heavily involved in this sort of thing. He promoted the illegals to come over here because when they worked, they would generate funds through the Social Security, and even though they would not get paid benefits and all that, there was Social Security works on a minimum system, so they prefer people on the lower end of the scale because that is less taxing for them. They get the same amount of money as if the person was a richer person. So, anyway, those are all issues. But don't get me wrong. I mean, I live in California. We definitely have issues here with illegal aliens. I was married to a Mexican that was, came from people who were illegal immigrants, I think, at one time. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah, do you think this is a ploy to try to prop up the tax system so they can get more people on the dole, pay the taxes, providing, reinforcements for their lacking funds?
Well, yes, it is, with respect to the money that is collected with their Social Security and their withholding when they work, if they are working for companies that are collecting those funds, because they don't expect those people to ever collect on those funds. So, yeah, that's they definitely pad the Social Security, but they do tend to also tax the system with the social systems and the medical systems and whatnot, and that's kind of a Marxist ploy to destroy the country through overspending of the resources and overstretching of the resources. So by doing this and bringing these people in, it helps to do that. That's one of the issues. And again, if you're looking for votes, if you're a Democrat, it seems that the illegal immigrants in those communities seem to be a good source of votes, legal or otherwise. Right? I mean, didn't Obama get they love those illegal immigrant support that they get, I think.
No, yeah, I mean, a less informed voter is always a better voter for the person who's looking to use cunning rather than real policy.
No doubt, no doubt. So you said that Max wanted to join us, huh? What was the problem? He didn't have...
Yeah, he keeps calling an international line, though.
Oh, well, gee, that's must be because he's out on some international foray, huh? No doubt. Well, gee, Max, if you're listening, if you want to call, what the heck? You've got a normal Skype here. What about that Skype contact that I've got you right there?
Yeah, I just sent him a request. You just gotta wait for him to accept that.
All right. Okay, let's see what Max has to say. It is unfortunate that we didn't get Gabby to come in here, especially since his little icon on his Skype account is green. But you never know what's going on over there in that part of the woods. He could have some electricity problems or who knows? It could be asleep. It could be off by an hour. You know, that's the day thing. They're always off by 24 hours. Okay, looks like there's Max. See if he comes up.
Yep, we got him. Hey, Max, how you doing?
There you go, man. I've had a hard time getting in. I'm calling from Africa. I'm not in the United States. I've been,
You've been chasing girls. You went all the way to Africa for a female. Tell the truth. Max? Oh, no.
I'm here.
Okay, you got angry. Don't get angry with me. Jesus, Max. Come on.
No, man. I left the United States last week, and I went to Ghana to meet with my girlfriend there. And when I got off the airport, I'm at the airport, I've been pulled into another room, and they arrested me and held me for 24 hours. They thought I was there to spy or something. I don't know where these people get all this information from. And I spent the last 24 hours of the worst place I've ever been in my life. And I don't know what to, I've been released. I was released, early this morning. And, actually I went in, I don't know what's going on. I'm all mixed up and, I was drugged and I don't really know what I am. I'm all screwed up here. I'm sorry if I said a bad word, but, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm sorry.
So, you got a laptop with you or something there? Did you bring is that what?
I'm using my girlfriend's laptop.
Ah, let's see. Okay. So they drugged you and you're recuperating then, huh?
I don't know what they put in me. I'm so confused and I don't know what I am doing here. I'm all turned around here. And I don't know what to do. I'm very confused. I don't know.
All right. Well, what do you have, a return ticket or what?
I do have a return ticket.
You still have a passport?
I don't have my passport.
Where's your passport?
I don't know. I don't have it. They took it away from me at the airport.
Okay, well, that sounds like an issue. So you're going to get in touch with your embassy?
That's what I'm going to do. As soon as my head clears up, I'm pretty confused right now. I really don't know. I don't know what to do.
All right, well, now you know what to do. You're going to go to the embassy as soon as your head clears up. You got that around there somewhere. At least call them up on the phone. You've got your girlfriend's computer. You can, Skype them or email them or something. In fact, you could do that immediately. Email them.
These people think I'm CIA, though.
Well, hell, who isn't CIA? Come on. Jeez. Right? That's what you think. Why do you think I don't get on a plane or even try to leave the country? I'm like, oh my gosh, I won't even go to Mexico. It's right there, and I won't go to Mexico. I might not get back in.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, forget that. So, they go, oh, we got you outside the country. Sorry, haha, see ya.
I was trying to contact you through the, I know Sean said 272. Actually, the area here is 2721, so he was close. And I can't get through. I get knocked off.
All right.
So,
well, Skype is having all kinds of issues right now, so don't worry about that. That's probably not your fault. We're having a lot of trouble just staying on connected to the station when people try to call in. So, and I get put on hold when what happened when Joe came on. I got put on hold. That was a lot of fun. But anyway, so yeah, hopefully we'll get that all that fixed up real soon with some software patches that Hawk's been putting together.
Is there any way that you can go on Skype and fix? I mean, is there any way I can fix something here, or is it not possible?
Fix what for you? Fix what?
For me, every time that I call on my global.
Well, you got through this time.
Because Sean pulled me in, but I was calling on my global phone that I have, and every time I call in, every time I push that number. That 347 number, it knocks me off.
I don't know. What do you recommend, Sean? What do you think? He's just.
Oh no, you were getting through there, Max. I just couldn't bring you in because it's the international line, and I don't have the international capability to bring you in that way. So Skype is definitely the way to go in that situation.
Money issue. Yeah, money issue.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. Well,
y'all have a good night and have a good show and. Try to clear my head here. I don't know my right.
So you like the first half of the show, huh? You like listening to Jim?
Yes.
What did you enjoy? What did you what most struck you about what he had to say? What were you impressed the most by?
Well, I'm still very confused here. I don't feel
groggy head and all. You still enjoyed it though, huh?
I'm sorry, Stephen. I'm not all myself. I apologize.
All right, I better not mess around with you. You go ahead and relax.
My whole side of my right side is numb. I don't know what is it that they gave me.
Well, if you have any wits whatsoever, you might go ahead and draft a email to your local embassy. Find them on your computer while it's working right now, and take care of that.
And the internet goes out constantly over here. I'm in Kusami, Ghana right now. Mm-hmm. It's with a K.
Well, I hope it was worth it. Was it worth it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, huh? Was it now? Okay.
Well, no, not worth getting the way I was, but worth going to see
the risk.
My beautiful girlfriend,
I see. Okay, all right.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm being set up or something,
Well, gee, Max, what do you think? Maybe she's a spy, huh, Max? What do you think?
I don't know.
You think about it for a second.
I'm still very confused, man.
They call that a honeypot, right? Honeypot.
Remember that you told me once that this could be a setup that you seen that girl before?
Yes, I know that. But sometimes they're called honeypots, all right? That's how they get you. Could be foreign, could be CIA, could be NSA, could be Israeli, could be who knows what, okay? It could be Russian, you never know. Ghana, that's kind of a weird entrance, but I know, yes, I've seen the girl before, but we're not going to... You deal with what you got to do. Get your passport back and... because we don't really want to talk about this on the air. I'm kind of concerned if you are over there and if you're in this home of this person who is questionable. Because who knows? Okay, just a possibility. If she was a foreign asset and the locals knew her to be that, and by you coming in here and making contact, you were being identified as a U.S. asset. And they want to hear what you had to say. You never know. It could have been a trap. Who knows? But these are all possibilities.
That's what I thought before I even left. So I should have listened to my instinct, and I didn't.
Yep.
And, beauty...
You should have given her the test. She send you naked pictures, Max? I'm serious.
Many of them.
Okay. All right. Well, then, all right. We'll leave it at that. Hyro, how you doing? I'll use that to say Hyro.
I'll stay silent.
Yeah, I just thought he wanted to inject some light.
Who is that?
Okay, I will say something. Max, I know Max is tough. Don't worry about him at all. And don't say CIA anymore. ISIS is the new term. That CIA, so yesterday.
How about AIC?
That's funny, Hyro. Very good. All right. Well, in any way, needless to say, our show's kind of impromptu for the last hour of the show. We only got 3 minutes left because we're going to have Gabby from Syria join us, and I guess his clock. But that was fun. Yeah, I only gave him.
Is he there?
No, he's not here. He's probably sleeping. You know.
I sent him a message that day you did the show. I sent him in Arabic, and he says to me, "Now you speak Arabic."
Would you use Babelfish or something like that?
I used the Google Translator.
Yeah, I see how you are. I used to do that to talk to girls. There's this girl in Colombia I used to chat with.
Steve, I'm hanging up so you have more space, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Thank you, Hyro.
All right. Well, again, that was Hyro. And Max, it's always a pleasure. Jeez. Well. What can I say about you? See how you are? You should have just listened to me in the first place when I said, Max, I've seen this girl before. Hello. And here you are in Ghana. Come on.
I guess the marriage is off, huh?
I don't know. That's up to you, man. Have you consummated it?
I'm not going to go with this.
You consummated the relationship?
I don't know. It's crazy here, man. The people
here
are
you're not
weird,
answering
man.
me, Max. Have you consummated your relationship with this person?
In the morning.
In the morning? Only in the morning? No evening?
Well, right now here it's 3:30 in the morning.
Max. Okay. Oh, okay. What you're saying is, since you've been with this young lady since getting released from jail, you have yet to have a physical relationship to prove that she's a real human and she has interest in you. Huh?
Not yet. Okay. But I'm
right,
hoping.
You feedback. You give us. You need a little bit of tantric something or other there to help you with the drug. You help that to wear off, right?
Man, I've never felt this before. I don't even know what they gave me because even my tongue was numb too, and I had a hard time talking. I've had a rough time over here. I've never been in this situation in my life.
Well, it doesn't sound good, to say the least.
Oh, I'm glad you're there to guide me through a little bit.
A little bit. Well, obviously, it's a treacherous. For what you're describing, sounds pretty treacherous. And as long as you're cognate, you should start the process of getting in touch with the embassy to deal with your passport. If they think you're a criminal or some CIA, you may have trouble getting that back. That's kind of what they do. But hey, well, man.
What happens? What happens if I go to the embassy and I go in there and tell them what happened, and things may get worse for me?
What? They won't let you out of the embassy? What? You're going to get in trouble?
No, at the U.S. embassy.
They're going to say lock this guy up because it's Max and he's a troublemaker? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, man. They know
Well, see, this is the thing, Max. Let me tell you something. It's like I just told you about going to Mexico. When you're one of us, you don't fly out of the country and then get surprised when you come back in. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a rap star named Mos Def who went to live in South Africa, and he started talking all kinds of crap on the U.S. government, and he did this big thing about Guantanamo and force feeding and all that. And he wanted to do a concert in the United States, and when he came to get on the plane and flew over here, they said, no, we don't think so. And so that's why it's kind of scary. When you're in here, you have a certain amount of security. Once you go out, you take some risk that they're going to let you back in.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do tomorrow, though? If something gets worse, I met this guy in there in jail, and he said that he was getting out. And he said that I might just get me a weapon or something, and I still have a little money. Huh?
What? A weapon?
I mean, if something goes wrong, I can protect myself.
Hijack a plane or something? What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about a handgun.
In Ghana, come on. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's pretty scary, but that's another thing. It's like you go over the border, you go to a country like that. What'd you think? The people are running around with AK-47s, and you have nothing, and you can get killed just for having something, practically. Jeez, you're not in a resort, apparently.
I'm looking at the chat room, and Go Bears, you mean that? Oh man, I'm seeing doubles. Jeez.
Passport. Well, of course you can't get out of the Africa without no passport. You have to have a passport. But anyway, so you have to work on everybody, assuming that this is happening, Max would have.
It is happening.
Max has to get the embassy to put pressure on whoever it is that has his passport to return it. At this point, they may do that voluntarily if he's a nice guy and he goes down to the local whatever it is. And
I might have to get a weapon.
No, don't be saying stuff like that.
I'm gonna have to get a weapon because if I run to these people that took my passport,
you're gonna have a shootout in Ghana, and you're never gonna get your passport. Come on, Max.
I have no choice, man.
No. You're not gonna get your passport by shooting these people and taking it. Come on. If that's what you're thinking.
I am thinking that.
No. Come on. It's not the Wild West. You're not
I need some help here, I need some help. Somebody give me some guidance out there.
Well, again, your embassy is the only people that you can really turn to at this point. And in a country like Ghana, obviously, your embassy is all you've got as an American citizen. So clearly, those are the people you have to deal with. Otherwise, keep using your internet connection, and if you can't get help from the embassy at home, what you do is you contact your local representative for where you live, your congressman, so to speak, right? You contact your congressman and say, hey, I went to go meet this girl in Ghana, and they said I was a spy and took my passport, and can you help me out? And call up the guys over at the local embassy to put some pressure on the local authorities to give me back my passport. Right?
Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my best not to. But the problem is, I am Cuban. I am proud of myself. I'm also an American citizen. But Cubans have a short temper and a short fuse. And sometimes we go overboard when we do things. And I'm gonna try to remember what you're telling me, Stephen.
Well, no guns. Okay, come on.
Well, that's still
all you have to do, your gun right there is the computer. If you have a computer, use that computer to contact all these people all over the world that you need to contact to make this happen. Right?
Oh, okay.
That's all you need. Right? Huh?
Well, okay, but if it gets a little nasty out here, I'm going to have to go, like I said, and get a weapon.
All right. You're going to go commando and shoot up the local whatever it is, huh?
Well, this guy's got a lot of, he said he can get me anything I want.
Well.
Okay, I'll try my hardest not to get in trouble over here.
Yeah, well, you have some fun with the young lady, and then get a hold of your embassy and all that sort of stuff that you got to do. All right?
I wish I had a Learjet. That's what Rhonda's saying there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I had a Learjet.
Well, if we had a Learjet, we'd be using it to fly around the country now and pick people up and take them to Hawk's birthday party in Kentucky.
Yeah. What is it, July 26th?
Actually, here's our opportunity to pump that thing.
Yeah,
July
that's correct.
26th, 27th, 2014. Hawk's gonna be 50.
Boy, wait, he gets 50, 51 and 52 will come real quick. I hope it slows down for him, though.
You know what happens at 50, after 50? I'll tell you, it's like a magic number. If you're on dating sites and all that, once you hit 50, forget it. Give it up. Things change. Kind of like, oh, forget it. 50, over 50. Oh my God, that's like a magic number. You suddenly become a relic. See how my show has degenerated? What the heck's going on, Sean? It's 8:39. We've still got a few minutes left, but we had a pretty good tight hour with Jim Dean. But I'll tell you, Max, it's not easy to keep putting together these hard-hitting shows that are so topical and dealing with issues. But let me just say one thing in here. This is for the benefit of Justin, who was making a comment earlier. And that is, he basically was talking about a comment or a post that Stu Webb had put up regarding a possible satanic ritual sacrifice of children that's going to be taking place in the Denver airport area, perhaps underground in their secret base in the next day or two. And it was kind of like an Amber Alert, watch out for any children getting kidnapped because of this thing. It's kind of like an educational campaign, but his point was that here's a heinous event happening at home, something we should be focusing at home as opposed to these events that are taking place in different parts of the world. Because obviously the show, with Syria and Ukraine and Iraq, we've been focusing on different parts of the world and not necessarily something here in the United States. But I don't agree with that because certainly we do float around. I mean, the Bundy issue, we were certainly focusing on issues here in the United States with the Bundy issue, and I'm sure we've had other shows here that were, dealing with the, domestic issues. But these things that, we're not, again, the other side of the coin was that we're talking about a lot of things that were kind of negative. We're manifesting fear, I guess, by talking about this, these wars and these bad things and these bloody campaigns that are going on. And it's not a fear thing, but if it's still very important what we're doing because, so many of these people that we talk to and that we're trying to reach out to still have a backwards concept of what's really going on because they do have some connection to the mainstream media somehow, and they are still being programmed to believe the policy and the line that is being put out by the mainstream media. So,
well, speaking of programs, Stephen, I mean, what's your opinion on some of these mind-controlled assassins type deal? I mean, do you think it's scalar weaponry? Do you think it's illicit drug use that, just is used to coerce people through cash and assets, bringing them in on the fold, making them kind of like informants and then using them for these techniques? Or
I think
it
is a combination of things, that they perfected. There is psychosomatic control, there is drug use, there is all sorts of environmental things that they do. But from the scalar standpoint, that is really a big part of it. And that, of course, is directed by big machines that are intended just for that purpose, as well as cell phone towers, electronic devices in our homes, any sort of AC wire, AC current. All these things can be programmed to carry a signal, a scalar signal, and generate these wavefronts that can affect people. And from a chemical standpoint, certainly people who are, using antidepressants and what have you, they seem to be certainly involved. And who knows what else, it could be fed to them without their knowing. But, I'm drawn to the issue with these guys in Las Vegas, right? And it's kind of funny when you talk about mind control because, Lorien Fenton had her mind control summit in Las Vegas here just a few weeks ago, I guess it was. And these people, these two shooters, were actually in attendance there. And as I pointed out last night, it's become, at least they're saying this on Facebook and what have you, is that these two were also being paid by the Las Vegas PD to be informants. So I would suspect that there was a good possibility that they were there doing a surveillance situation or, exercise over there at the Super Soldier Summit. Who knows? Las Vegas PD could have paid for their tickets. But the thing is, though, is that by having them go there, it's almost like they're building their characters. It's almost like the guys that were supposedly set up the patsies for the Boston Marathon. They were allegedly being groomed as informants or people that were actually working
Right. Yeah, they were actually assets with the
contractors.
FBI.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, asset one day, patsy the next. And I think that this was probably those people there, the same thing. They could have been playing this game, and they could have had it all these funny scenarios in their head. And of course, they take these people who are on the fringe, and they do manipulate them with all sorts of tools.
Yeah, the L.A. shooters, those two, they actually went to the Bundy Ranch as well. They got kicked off the premises. So at least they had enough sense to get him the heck out of there.
Well, isn't it a coincidence, Sean, though, that like the two from Las Vegas, they were actually filmed, but picked up by NBC, I think it was, on TV, NBC TV, at the Bundy Ranch. So it's almost like they pick and choose these people, right?
Right. It's like, how do you know that this guy is the one you want to interview? Or, are they the ones who are actually seeking out the interviews most actively, probably? It could be either one.
Yeah, that's true. But, it's at the same time, it seems kind of a coincidental. But then, it's almost reminiscent also, and we see this so much with these false flags, especially with the big networks like CNN, what have you, that we see these crisis actors. And I know that with we've seen, like, there's a couple women in particular who have been, one of them was used they said that she was like the principal at Sandy Hook, and then later on in Boston bombing, they said that she was a bystander that was killed during, the explosion, the alleged explosion in Boston. And then, of course, there's like the woman, the crying girl on the cell phone who's been seen at, doing the crying into the cell phone scene in like at least three different one of these incidents. So, and this is a reoccurring thing. So clearly, and there's so many holes in all these false flag operations that you just don't know. It's certainly a very complex scheme that they're pulling off.
Right, and these things are actually getting pretty public, as I've seen some ads through different websites that were posted from Craigslist entries for crisis actors. The call get put out on such a public site. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it.
Right. And then the getting these guys who are amputees and these military veterans with the amputees and using them to add these ridiculous wounds like we saw in Boston. It's crazy.
Right. The guy should have been passing out. Well, he's just kind of sitting there in the chair. The other guys are like, "Are you okay?" And he's just like, "Ugh."
We know what happens. We know what happens. It's like it's like, for instance, this woman that just got blown up in Ukraine. You see these pictures of her. She looks like she's all cognate looking at the camera, and she's got these big wound, piece of her leg are blown off, and she didn't survive. What's the difference there? It's just, you don't do that. I mean, with that kind of trauma and the shock the body goes into, and the massive hemorrhaging of blood that would be taking place. I mean, my God, it's ridiculous. Anyway, but that's like debating 9/11, right? We could do that all day.
Yes, we could. But there's not much of a debate. More evidence to uncover, actually. The debate's pretty much closed. It was an inside job. The towers came down at free fall speed, and they said it was jet fuel. That's not even possible. I mean, that's industrial steel girders that melted.
I really would like to have Judy Wood on. That would be fun. Hey, I'll tell you something. I saw this thing on Facebook, and it was a story about the Mohawk Indians that built the towers. And there was this recollection of this Mohawk Indian who was supposedly working on the some building while the planes allegedly crashed into the Twin Towers. And this guy, in his story, and I got sick because I couldn't believe that this story, it's like, it was such propaganda, but he said that he couldn't believe he saw the plane hit, and I'm thinking, okay, if they really were planes, sure. And then he said that he was all worried because he knew that the jet fuel would cause the steel to melt. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to get a rigger to say that the jet fuel is going to cause the steel to melt. I mean, that was unbelievable. So the lies.
Yeah, then they brought out the pancake method.
Yeah, free fall speed, right? with things flying out in every direction. No, I'm heavily leaning towards the suitcase nuke theory. and then possibly of that in conjunction with thermite, and also in conjunction possibly with an X-ray laser and things like that. But if you look at the cars alone that are all crispified, it sure looks like some sort of neutron type, or who knows what some sort of nuclear device, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, something happened in the basement as well, because you had first responders, FDNY responders saying that they had the mural in the front hall just was destroyed when they went in there.
Yeah, right, yeah, and all these guys that have been reporting that these explosions have been dying, huh? A lot of the witnesses have been dying.
Have they? No, I didn't catch that.
Well, that's true. I mean, there are guys that are involved with, even police officers and fire personnel who were reporting these preliminary explosions and things like that. They have been getting picked off, but that happens a lot. There was a police officer involved with the Oklahoma City explosion who basically said the same thing, that there was something not right about the official explanation, the official story.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, you had the, what was it, a manure, something kind of...
nitrogen ammonium fertilizer and diesel fuel.
Yeah, I mean, the blast damage on the face of that building was tremendous. I mean, and to think that could be caused by something that was sitting inside of a van.
No, the stuff in the van, of course, was very powerful. Needless to say, even if it was not just something that Timothy McVeigh built, it's possible that it was actually loaded on a military base with military-grade explosives. But just like
so you think that it could have had enough,
no,
impact?
Not necessarily. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it even though that it would have been even more powerful than what Timothy McVeigh probably built, there was internal cutting systems, just like they used in the trade towers. Because that's the thing, is that concussion from that bomb out in the street would not have severed all that steel. It would have taken off the facade. It would have broken the glass. It would have caused some significant damage, but it wouldn't have cut all those steel beams and done, taken out all that huge building. It's just there's no power. There's not that enough power.
Right. Another one is the Breivik incident that took place in Oslo, Norway, when he set off those bombs in front of the government building and then went over to the Utah Island.
Wasn't that a crazy incident?
Oh my gosh. And then the manifesto and his court appearances and total.
I can't believe that guy's still alive. They treat him, they give him video games, and they're so kind to this guy. They treat him like a human. And look at what he did. Hunted down children.
Yeah, didn't he claim what was it, Templar alliances?
He claimed to be a Templar. He was a Punisher. He was basically sent there, even though he claimed to be Templar and all that. There is talk that he was more like Mossad type of situation, and he was there to punish these guys for not cooperating with some agenda. I'm not sure if it's a Zionist agenda or what, but that's why the children of the elite on that island were the ones that were targeted.
Right, yeah, that was a political convention as well. I think the Democratic Party or Socialist Party, something along those lines. I'm not
I think it was
politics.
it was something of that nature, but I think what it was the children of these high-ranking officials of this ruling party or something that were gathering at this thing. It was one of these little perks of being a member of the ruling party, I guess. But yeah, so that was pretty horrific. I mean, basically getting him onto an island, sealing him off, and picking him off like a turkey shoot. 70 people, 70 children, wasn't it? That guy
plus they had gas bombs stashed in the trees. I mean, and then you have the first responders who were trying to get to the island, had their boat sink because they loaded it up with too much gear. I mean, wouldn't these guys know what the capacity of their own boat was?
Well, who knows? They're probably panicked. But anyway, that was a very ugly situation. Again, like I said, it's crazy that they let that guy live, and that I've heard that he was actually complaining because he didn't approve of the quality of the video games that they were supplying him.
Yeah, he threatened a hunger strike if he didn't get a PS3 or something like that.
Yeah, right. His gaming system was obsolete. He wanted a better gaming system or something. Oh my God! It's like, why is he not being tortured every day is unbelievable. But anyway. All right, well, God, what do you think of Max and his situation, huh, Sean? What do you think of that?
I don't know. I can't really make heads or tails.
Yeah, right. You know what? I know.
I hear a lot of things, but I read between the lines. And
all right. Well, for the record, for everybody that's listening before the music comes in, he did show me a picture of some girl, and the photo that he showed me, I recognize as a girl. That's photo I see very often in scams, usually on Facebook. I've had communication with somebody posing in this girl sending me this picture that he got. And sometimes I'll have fun with these people. I don't always have fun, but I'll be polite to them, even though I know that it's some guy in Ghana or something like this. But very often that's what it is. It's somebody in Ghana, Accra, or someplace like that. They call that, in Nigeria, they call it a 419 scam. So I'm not surprised at going over there, because this is the thing. You don't do that, when you make these relationships with these people that say they're in these foreign countries, and the first thing they do is try to get you to go to South Africa or Ghana or some, godforsaken place. You're going to get in trouble. And clearly if you're getting harassed in the, if somebody took away his passport, clearly that's the first thing they're going to do. Now they're going to, again, so assuming this is all true, they're going to basically bribe him to get his passport back. He's going to have to come up with a bunch of money to get it back, just to get home.
Right. Those kinds of extortions, they're not going to go on the books, and they're probably commonplace in a country like Ghana.
Yeah, well, now Max just sent me a message. He says he's sorry for wasting Revolution Radio on the air, and he deserves what he's going through. Come on, Max. Yes, you shouldn't have been chasing that girl, but, my God. La, la, la. Send us a picture. Uh-oh. There it is. Okay, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Sean. And please join us next week. And thank you for your patience. Adios. Good night.